Call our May 16th Jackson County Commission work session to order. Have a roll call.
District 1, Mr. Guffey. District 2, Mr. Campbell.
Present.
District 3, Mr. Miller.
Present.
District 4, Mr. Ledwell.
Present.
Chairman also present.
Okay, we have a quorum present. We'll have our invocation by Mr. Porter and our pledge by Mr. Miller.
God, our sovereign Father, we're pleased to be here today. We're so thankful for this country, and we're so thankful for this community. We're thankful for all those that are gathered here today. We pray you'll continue to watch over us and guide us and bless us. Bless us as a nation. God, we pray that we'll always look to you for guidance that we need and direction. So God, be with us, direct us all. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is approval of the agenda. We have 4 items on the agenda to discuss this afternoon. Any changes before we proceed? Have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make it motion.
Motion, have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Okay. Next, public comments from citizens. We've had one individual sign up, Mr. David Patty from Ebenezer Baptist.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and share.
I think some of you already have one of the pictures, but I made some more copies. It should be enough for everybody. We need more parking at our church, and you can see the first photo here. How this part of County Road 90. This is on the left side is Bryant School. That's Bryant School, and then 90 splits off of 73, comes by the front of our church. Currently, County Road 90 slices right through our church property, and we need additional parking. Currently, we're parking some in this gravel place across from the church. You can see on the picture, but we need more parking, and frankly, it's very dangerous for our people to cross that road. People fly when they there's a dip there, there's a hill on each side, and I'm wondering about the possibility of straightening out that road. The yellow line is mine. It's approximately 285 yards, it'll be about 850 feet. That's how much the yellow line is approximately. If that road would be straightened out, we would have all this parking in front of that cemetery and there where the green is now, along, that would be our new parking lot. And it's really dangerous. We've had several close calls, and that would resolve, our situation. The next picture is looking at it from Bryant School, there at the intersection, looking back. You can see that yellow line went right down where these power poles go, right down that property line. And the last picture is from the other side. It's from the church, the lower church parking lot. Looking back toward, you can see the roof of Bryant School in the far distance there. We were just wondering if someone would consider the possibility or look into it. So
We can take a look at what the possibilities. Right off, I think there's several challenges with utilities. Property, I think you answered that question, but probably the biggest challenge is cost. But what we can do is probably have our engineer take a look at this and see what options might be there. Also from a safety perspective, if there's anything that we can do outside of this to help prepare a safer option for folks that are having to park on the other side of the road.
You said the church owns that property?
yes, sir.
They own it in the woods too?
You do?
I don't know exactly where the line is, but our building and ground said, yes, we own that over there. We have parked down there in that grassy spot when we've had larger events, and But yes, I'll find out exactly where the line is if needed. But I know we mow over to that line, and that next picture shows the power lines, and I don't know, maybe the power lines is the property line. But we mowed to the woods, but I'm not exactly sure. You know, so I can find out.
There's no problem. I'll get with Mr. Campbell on this, our engineer, and take a look and see what, just see what thoughts and possibilities are.
Okay.
And tell us again, the primary concerns you have with this are?
That's safety. We need more parking, and there's really nowhere for us to go because we have the cemetery here. Mm-hmm. We've looked at the possibility of building a parking lot out back, but it's the way the church is designed, it's a whole lot more feasible to have more parking in the front. And of course, if the road went down through here, we'd have all this that we could asphalt and
Any other questions or thoughts? Okay, I'll get with our engineer, Mr. Campbell, and we'll discuss, and then we'll try to get back with you, at least talk with you this week to see if there's any other questions that you may have.
Okay. I really appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you.
Can I get a copy of that? May I get a copy?
Yes.
Thanks. See you later, man.
See you, Victor.
Move to public comment, move on to discussion items. The first item is regarding probate organizational chart. We've been going through trying to put organizational charts in place for every department, and we have a draft of, I think, of what we're looking for probate, and I'll let the probate judge kind of identify where we want to go with this. And as I understand it, what we have here, the structure is right. We're looking at some title changes, correct? What we have.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it would be even, I guess, a little bit different than that. I looked at what our current job titles are. And I got 3 supervisors. I have a chief clerk, an assistant chief clerk, supervising recording clerk. Anyhow, I got 3 supervisors, and then at full staff I had 3 employees. So I really want to simplify it. I want to make it something that works. So by law, by code, we have to have a chief clerk. That's prescribed. I'd like to have a probate clerk supervisor, and then just clerks under that. That's what I want to do. Looking at our job descriptions, I have job descriptions for a chief clerk, an assistant chief clerk, a recording clerk, a business license clerk, a conservation clerk, a driver's license. We got a ton of job descriptions, and it don't matter, we did the same thing. So this needs to be simplified, and we need to have a chief clerk, a supervising probate clerk, and then probate clerks. So that's I had mentioned this before, and I went back and looked differently, and this is not. By doing it the other, we get to eliminate stuff that we're not using.
Any questions or comments on that? I think really the only thing we're waiting, which I'll get with the judge on, is those exact titles. We'll get those, and then we can have this updated and prepared to move forward.
Sure.
Right?
We're working on job descriptions now, and combining and spelling out what people need to have, what they need to to be a level of a clerk. Most of the others, I know you've got HMT 1, 2, 3. They've got, Jeff has what it is, motor vehicle tech 1, 2, 3. So we're spelling all that out with probate clerk 1, 2, 3, and then a supervisor, then a chief clerk. So that's what we're doing, and I have job descriptions. Matter of fact, I've got them, you could say, complete now. We're looking over them one more time. So be glad to share those with you. If you want to see them, and then we just need to match everything else up.
Any questions? Like I said, this is just in line with what we've been doing with the other departments, so I'll get with probate judge, and I was still looking at some of those when we get the final things together and have that presented as soon as we are able. Next, anything else?
No, sir.
Next thing, the municipal agreement process. You have 2 agreements in your packet, one for Langston and one for the town of Paint Rock. And it's both of these for work to be done in those communities. Identifies the cost for the work. Do they identify the cost for the work, Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, we touched on this before, previous meeting. Basically, what this would do is outline the who, what, when, where, and how much on any activities to be performed for municipalities. As you're aware, we've done some of these in the past, and it's gone a little bit different as some of these, but I think the final framework we ironed out was with the one you received last week with the town of Langston. That's one Mr. Porter had looked over and helped us with. And basically it outlines the duties, what we will perform, what the town's responsibilities are, some hold harmless terms in there, and then it's signed by the mayor, attested by the clerk, and then signed by us. So if there's any questions about that wording, I think that I mentioned we've done it different ways, in that area I'm speaking of is basically to do with reimbursement. I know in some of the agreements we've done actual cost or estimated amount, whichever's cheaper. I think that's probably outside the norm. The norm, as my understanding, has been actual cost of the work. The estimate is just an estimate. And the reason for that is, you get into varying site conditions depending on the scope of work and additional work and then other factors that arise once you're there performing these activities. So I'll answer any questions you have on the agreement.
And going forward, what we'd like to do is approve these two agreements next week, if there's no objection. And then from this point forward, we will use the agreement presented for Langston. That will be the framework for any agreements we use from this point forward. Also, from what we discussed in a previous work session, it's my understanding we had said anything over $2,000 we wanted to bring to the commission. Do we want to go ahead and just bring everything to the commission as far as this for review, at least to a work session? Is everyone good with that? So again, if we can approve both of these, and I don't have in here the quote for the Langston, if we can have that for next week, that was my fault. And the price is located in the Paint Rock one. So, any questions, thoughts? Any objection proceeding that way? Okay. And we'll have those on the agenda for next Monday, and from this point forward, we'll use that agreement for Langston for our core agreement. Okay, next item is regarding business privilege tax notice. We had gotten the Attorney General's opinion regarding the business privilege tax back in January, and due to, I guess, some of the other things we've had going on, we never distributed or determined what needed to be done with those dollars for last year. We have not received this year's dollars. Is that correct, Mr. Manning? We've not gotten the business privilege tax for this year?
Yeah, we got the one, this was made around May the 16th. It did come in.
It has come in. Okay. So, it came in today? Or we get it last week?
Maybe it was a week ago. It's within about the past week or so.
Okay.
It has come in though. Generally it's the first part of May,
Okay.
but it was a little later this year.
So,
We have received the full amount. It was right about the same amount we had budgeted for it. So it's
Okay. So what I wanted to do, we needed to determine, do we want to, beginning last year, say that those dollars will not be distributed as they have been in the past, begin that this year, begin that next year. That determination needs to be made by the commission, and I'd like to make that determination next week. And then, of course, we'll send out a letter to those folks that were receiving a portion of that, based on whatever we decide to do. From what I've heard, some of the discussion has been to send half of last year's dollars and then retain the other half. That was one of the proposals. We can send all, we can send half, we can send none. Again, as I understand from the Attorney General's opinion, it's strictly up to the commission on how those dollars are distributed.
That's great.
Okay. So thoughts on that?
make a correction. I believe the one that I'm talking about that came in a week or so ago was the 116, the annual payment that we get from that fund.
That was
this
capital
one,
improvement.
right? So this one may, I do not believe that's come in. I was thinking about the capital improvement.
We're really talking about last year's anyway, correct?
Correct, right.
Which we've we've already got.
Right. Yeah, I think we discussed a little bit about what to do going forward, but we need to make a firm decision on what we're going to do for the last year. Any recommendations? We can maintain as is and send it out. Notice immediately that those funds will be distributed on an annual basis by the commission.
You know, anybody that's receiving these funds, you know, it affects them. Everybody's finances are kind of in a whirlwind, but the county's is also. Retaining any type of funds that we can legally retain is what the commission's got to look at. I mean, we've got to figure out revenue streams to take care of, you know, our county government. We've got to do that.
I feel like, under the circumstances, you know, the county is, we're struggling, as are the other municipalities. You know, so that could be used to offset some of the costs that we incur.
We'll caveat that there are a couple, really I think there may be 3 entities that receive a larger amount of this, but there were several checks from this, $5 and maybe $100 and something like that. So they were very small distributions from this as well.
Can we get a list of what this did go to?
Can you email that to everybody again?
Sure.
Where it was being distributed?
Right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I agree with my other commissioners, and we received $500,000 roughly from legislation delegation last year just to open the courthouse back up. We don't know if we're gonna get that money this year or not, so we gotta work out for our employees and our citizens.
We'll get that emailed, and if there's no objection, we'll place this on the agenda for next week, and if you wish, I'll be glad to make a proposal on how to proceed. Okay. Next item is a Wanville water project. I just wanted to update everybody. The bids were received on this a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think there's a meeting tomorrow morning to discuss some of the ins and outs as to how to move forward. It's a good project. The bids were a little bit more than anticipated. So we'll have hopefully a recommendation by next Monday on how to proceed with this. I just wanted to give you an update. As soon as, when we have the meeting tomorrow, I can email everybody just to let them know what the status is on it, on how we want to move forward. It's a possibility that we may have to commit a few more dollars to this, is why I wanted to give you an update. But we'll know kind of tomorrow, or should have a better idea tomorrow of how much that extra dollars are. I think originally we had anticipated committing $70,000 to this water project, so after we meet tomorrow, again, I can present next Monday what exactly that's anticipated to be.
How many qualifying bidders do we have?
I think for that one we had 5, if I'm not mistaken. So it was well received. Any other questions or comments on that?
Was the 3% local utilized in this process or not?
It wasn't, it didn't, again, we'll make a recommendation from that, the review group next week, but the lowest apparent bidder was local. Any other questions, comments? Okay. That concludes the items on our agenda for this afternoon. We'll move on to our reports. Mr. Manning? Mr. Campbell? Mr. Porter? Chief Deputy? Mr. Judge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Benham?
Community meeting Thursday,
Yes.
Rosalie, 6 o'clock, Rosalie Community Center.
And that'll be just the community meeting. We won't have an agenda like this, so we'll do whatever anyone would like to speak on. Mr. Miller?
No, sir.
Mr. Label?
Catfish Festival, Saturday.
Anything else?
Yes, sir.
All right, that concludes our meeting this afternoon, so we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no.